Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hi, everybody. It's Thursday, August 5th. Time for another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. What you know, Fruit Loop?
That my brother is old.
Your brother's birthday's today. We have so many birthdays lately.
I know, right? He is the big 5-0.
Oh, man, that's hard to believe.
Yeah, he's old.
Yep. Happy birthday, Jody.
Yep. Happy birthday.
Speaking of birthdays, I just want to thank everybody for just a huge number of birthday wishes for my daughter's 16th birthday on the 3rd. You guys showed out, and it really just made her very happy that you guys took a moment to wish her happy birthday. And a big thank you to Rolling in the Dough, Arizona. She's one of our listeners from Arizona. I feel like we call her a friend now.
Yeah.
She sent Taylor a very, very thoughtful gift. And so we just want to say thank you. It's crazy. My babies are growing up. And in fact, today, my oldest Taylor and my son Mason just started high school.
Yeah, I feel really old.
I know. Taylor was a freshman last year, but we did the virtual. So they were really glad to get back into school. It's just they're better in person. So hope they have a good day.
Yeah, but I do. Like, I can't believe your kids are getting that grown.
I know. It's very bittersweet. I have it because they'll always be 3 and 4 to me. I guess it's just a mom thing. But at the same time, they're just super cool kids. And yesterday, Mason rode with the fire department again and came home and said, wow, we saw a heroin overdose. And man, he just got it. He said, what's the point? And he said, the worst part is the woman's child is just screaming for his mom to wake up.
Yeah. That's tough.
It is tough.
He was so cute. He wants, our friend Brianne, her daughter, loves fire trucks. So he has been after us forever to get her over there.
I know.
And he called last night. Can you bring her?
Oh, that's so sweet.
And we were at the theater working. And
the theater's very far away from where we are.
Yep.
But, it's kind of full circle because when he was 3, his favorite thing was to go to the fire department.
Yep.
They love him there. They think he's just, his ability to retain knowledge is insane. Like, you tell that kid something one time and he can recite word for word the parts of a fire truck or anything like that. It's just, he is very smart.
Oh, yeah.
We want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, Two Cool T-Shirt Quilts. Check her out. It's twocooltshirtquilts.com/Pretty Lies and Alibi. See if you can do something with all your T-shirts that you have laying around.
I wonder how many it takes to make a quilt.
I think she told us to send 20 something.
Okay.
Yeah, which
that helps me narrow it down.
Dude,
I only have 500.
Yeah, I got like 5,000.
Yeah.
So the death penalty, the deadline is actually going to be Monday for that. According to Arizona, Lord have mercy. There's so many states these people have just desecrated. Idaho, if the deadline falls on like a weekend or a holiday, it's the next day. So the deadline, according to what I can tell, is going to be Monday. So we will see. We were talking about this right before we went on air.
Yep.
About the death penalty, and I'm good either way. I'm not a huge supporter of the death penalty, although there are cases where I'm just all for it. This is one, just because of everything. But yeah. I'm good if they don't go for it. I think a lot of people are going to be upset.
Yep. I teeter-totter back and forth.
I do too.
I'd rather see somebody pay for what they've done.
Right.
And have to spend the rest of their life in a cell.
Right.
Pondering.
But if you think about it, it's kind of where it's going anyway. I mean, I always it's not a joking matter, but I mean, Texas is kind of the only place that regularly executes inmates from what I can tell.
Yeah.
So if you get death, it's kind of like a life sentence anyway. And the other thing too is, if you notice, juries are just increasingly giving death less and less. I think that's a hard burden for an average citizen to carry. For you to make a choice between life and death? Yeah. So don't get us wrong. If they come up with the death penalty for this case, I'm good with it. I'm okay with it. Yeah. You killed 4 or 5 people. I mean, I always count Joe Ryan in there, but and 2 of those were children. So I'm good with it. If they don't, then okay, I'm good with it. Yep. So we'll see. We shall see. If they do announce it tomorrow, my daughter's actual birthday party is tomorrow evening because we've just had a crazy week. And Fruit Loop will be here. So if something does come down, we are planning on doing something after that party. If not, Monday at some point or Tuesday, depending on schedules, we'll hop on and talk about whether they did or didn't.
Yep. So you had a fun visitor.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm in here so the studio is right next to, it's an enclosed garage. And so right next outside is my little trash. I have a little area where you can't see my trash cans and it's closed off. So I hear this weird noise and I go out and it's Sherlock and he's making this god awful growling sort of hissing noise and he runs in and then I hear this scratching and I know something. At first I thought it was a cat. Maybe Sherlock had a cat cornered. And so I get my camera and it's dark out, right? So I hold my camera up above the enclosure and snap a picture with flash, and I see these two beady eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, oh, that's a possum.
Yep.
So it looked like he was stuck. Now, we've already had listeners who watched the video I uploaded of all this say, leave them alone, they'll get themselves out. Okay, noted. I will not do this in the future. So I got a broom, and I was just kind of pushing him. Like, come on, buddy, let's go. And then finally he went. And so if you watch the video on Twitter or Facebook, I say, oh, where did he go? Well, the reason there's no further video is because he then ran up against my leg and I said about 5 F-bombs on that. So we try to keep it family friendly and I edited the video. So I went in and I'm surprised I have skin on that part of my leg because I literally made 5 passes, scrubbing as hard as I could.
So that's why when you mess with them, they play dead. So he wouldn't move.
Well, he was hissing at me. He wasn't playing dead. I thought that, look, after he brushed up against my leg, it was dark, and I probably, I was tap dancing out there. But I was just waiting to feel fangs go in my leg. But
okay, so I just learned, and I know y'all are going to say, okay, you're a moron. I like kangaroos. I get it's called a marsupial, I think, because they carry their young in their pouch, right?
You studied in high school in science, didn't you?
I know, right?
I'm impressed.
So I did not know that a possum was a marsupial as well.
Yeah, they carry.
They have a pouch.
Yeah, but
I was like, no way.
Possums get a bad rap. They're ugly as all get out, but they don't get rabies. They eat like fleas and ticks out of your yard and stuff like that, but they also make a mess of your enclosure because it looks like he had a party.
They make you make a mess.
Oh, I about made a mess in more ways than one. But anyway, it was just really funny.
Speaking of, well, I know we got to get to this, but I scared your youngest this morning. It was I wish I could have videoed that. You could have posted. It was great.
Oh, yeah. So I was gone. I had to take my grandmother, who will be 87 in a couple of weeks, awesome, to get some blood work. And she's healthier than we all are. And then we had to go grocery shopping. And then there's a little store locally called the Tomato Vine where you get just locally grown produce. And it's really, really good. So we went by there and got cucumbers and watermelons and all that. But you came in when I was gone. And so she's by herself, but I had the doors locked.
Yeah, doors locked. So I come in and I walk in her bedroom and it's just pitch black dark. And like she's all the way under the covers, can't see anything. And I scare her, and she jumps up out of the bed. It was funny.
Oh my gosh, we all scare each other. It's kind of just a 30-year-old tradition that's been passed down to my kids. So
she said, I just peed my pants.
Well, I told her I'm leaving with Grammy, and we have family that live right close. So my sister-in-law can look across the street and see my house. It's locked up. She's fine. There's dogs in here. They're huge. Nobody's going to come in, but she knew she was alone, so she probably thought that was it. Bless it.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a little bit of update on the Murdock case here in South Carolina. And I'm going to tell you, if you guys are not following Fitz News on Twitter or Facebook or just their website, you need to. They are kind of the source for this case. And so they've put out a lot of stuff lately, and it's taken a little while. We've just had the document dump with Vallow. And then now we're waiting on this decision for life or death. And if death happens, we're going to get some more information about the murders, most likely, aggravating factors. And so that'll take up some time. So we wanted to do some Murdock updates. And just Mandy over at Fitz News, she got sources for days.
Yep.
So check them out. You can also follow Mandy on Twitter. And so tell us a little bit about where we're at.
So 59 days since the murders. They have no suspects and no arrest. We haven't heard anything lately regarding the investigation into their deaths. Paul and Maggie were shot and killed between 9 and 9:30.
Right. So we know that a 2021 Chevy Suburban was taken away from the scene, and that car was registered to the Murdock law firm. Why? I don't know if that's a car Paul drove. None of this is clear because they have not put anything out.
Yeah.
And the other thing that is a little suspicious is that the 14th Circuit solicitor, Duffy Stone, he hasn't taken himself off the case yet.
Yeah, because he recused himself from something else, right?
It was it was the boat crash.
Yeah.
He recused himself pretty quickly with that, as did Colleton County. They went ahead and called in another agency because they had ties to this family, but he still hasn't removed himself.
It's got to be a conflict of interest, right?
Oh, for sure, because he removed himself before they even found Mallory's body the night of the boat crash. And here's the thing, though. His investigators, they were seen talking to members of the Murdock family at the boat crash scene in the days after the crash, and that is a big no-no.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this whole case, I just don't understand it.
Stinks to high heaven.
It's so much cover-up, and it's sickening, really.
It really is, because if you take an ordinary citizen like me or you, and number one, we're not stupid enough to drink anything and get behind any wheel of a boat, car, not even a tricycle. Number one, I don't drink. It just is not good for me, and I don't like it.
Yeah, me neither.
So, I mean, you and I would have been arrested, booked, fingerprinted, and everything. I mean, that kid never stepped foot in a jail.
Yeah, anybody else would have been thrown under the jail.
Oh, for sure. Now, one new thing that is probably not new now, because we just haven't covered this in a couple of weeks, law enforcement was seen gathering evidence in a swampy area just a few miles from the hunting lodge a few days after these murders.
I'm going to tell you, the swampy areas down there,
Whew.
I just got back from down that way. It's swampy.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I do not like the marshes and all that. It's just mosquitoes and snakes and alligators.
Mosquito size of helicopters down there.
I know, right? They pick you up and carry you away.
It's like hummingbird.
Speaking of hummingbirds, I need to change my feed. It's been a couple of days. So hot here, you have to change your nectar about every 2 days. So they were out there fighting. I told Fruit Loop it was probably fermented now.
Yeah, you got some drunk hummingbirds.
You know what can happen, though? It can cause their throats to swell if that stuff gets, so you, in the South.
What you been researching? You old. You researching hummingbirds.
I got my bird feeder in front of my big window, and I just stand there in the morning with my coffee like an old Nana and watch the birds eat. And
when you start taking photos, I'm going to be worried.
Oh, I got some.
Oh,
Not even gonna lie. I got some.
Once you post those, she'll post her bird photos
there
for
you go. So the 911 call was released about 2 weeks ago, and this was the call made by Alex Murdough when he found the bodies. I don't really know how to decipher the 911 call. It's like you hate to assume anything because people panic differently. Some people are screamers and you can't tell anything. And I don't know.
Some people handle stress differently, I guess.
For sure. Now, I did see a picture of Alex and Buster recently. They were at some kind of a fishing tournament, I believe. Boy, Alex has dropped 50 pounds, it looks like.
Oh, wow.
So either way, just incredibly difficult circumstances that they're dealing with, whether he's a suspect or not. But they kind of look normal. I don't know. I mean, I guess some people just get back to doing what they do.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that 911 call.
So he gives the address and says, I've been up to it now. It's bad. When asked who was shot, Alex says his wife and his son. When asked, are they breathing? He says, no, ma'am. Dispatch asked if they were in a car, and Alex says, no, ma'am, they're on the ground out at my kennel. He said he didn't see anyone in the area. When asked what color his house was, he says it's white, but you cannot see it from the road. He said he had been gone and just came back.
Right. And so his alibi, it was put in the media that he had a, quote, ironclad alibi, end quote. But also sources have said that he is not a suspect, but a person of interest. So whether he did something or had somebody do something, I mean, it seems like they looked into that. And I've said this every time we talk about this case, the fact that they were so fast to say there's no danger to the community when you have a double murder that's very brutal tells me they know kind of where they're looking and why.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just so interested to see this progress.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of stuff come out, not just about this, but about other stuff.
Yeah. So he said no one else was supposed to be at his house.
Right.
As dispatch is typing, Alex says, "Please hurry." And what did they ask?
So they asked if he's moving at all, and she says, "Your son." She says, "I know you said he was shot." And Alex says that neither one of them are moving. And they ask if anything was out of place, and he says, "Not particularly, no ma'am." And then he says he's going to go back down there, I assume, to where the bodies were. He must have seen the bodies, made the 911 call, and then said he was going back.
But I'm confused did he not have a cell phone?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, so if I come up on that, I'm immediately going to grab my phone and call 911.
Yeah.
He asked them if they're close, and dispatch says yes. And she kind of tells him, "Hey, we've got units on the way. We're just talking to you and asking you questions in the meantime." And she asks him to put the flashers on his car so law enforcement can see where the kennels are on the property. It's like 1,200 acres, so it's big. And dispatch tells him not to touch Paul or Maggie in case there's evidence they can collect. He said he touched them already to see if they were breathing, which was kind of weird to me because apparently they both were shot in the face and chest area. So I don't know if I see somebody's face has been blown off with a shotgun or a automatic rifle, I don't know that I'm going to touch them. It would seem pretty obvious.
My initial reaction to that, I wouldn't touch them to see if they're breathing. I would touch them for a pulse.
Right, yeah.
But I would look to see if they're breathing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So he tells dispatch he needs to call some of his family members. He asked how old his son was, and he said 22. And on the 911 call log, this is something that Fitz News pointed out. It seems like, because there's a list of other people, I guess, who were present at the time 911 was called, and there's some redactions there. So people were sort of questioning where Buster was, but they nailed down that Buster was in Rock Hill, South Carolina, or in the Charlotte area, which is kind of close. That's about a 3-hour drive to get, a little under 3 hours if you're going from Rock Hill down to where these took place. So I don't know. I'm sure they probably verified with other sources that Buster was where they say he was.
Yeah.
So what about Alex's alibi?
So Alex's alibi is that he was taking his father to the hospital and stopped to visit his mother before he went to the property and found the bodies. The 911 call came in at 10:07 p.m.
Yeah, so they figured they were murdered between 9 and 9:30. 10:07, the call came in. And a little over 20 minutes after the 911 call, they went ahead and notified SLED, which is the state law enforcement division, to assist in the murders due to a conflict of interest in Colleton County. So that quickly, I guess, when they found out the name and where this was, they knew not to step in that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's crazy. So that was the 911 call. And then there were some things that was released about the boat crash and some details about things that happened in the hospital. I swear I feel like we covered this on a prior episode. Am I having a moment?
I don't.
Well, if we did,
it's just a review.
This is the review before the test, y'all.
Yeah.
So the boat.
So the boat was clocked doing 29 miles an hour, which on, water is fast. Plus,
the waterways are narrow.
Yeah, they're narrow. Plus, if you're intoxicated.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they all were.
Yeah.
So Austin Pritchard, he's a SCDNR investigator. And this guy's been named several times as someone who seemingly tried to steer the investigation away from Paul from the scene of the boat crash. When he was questioning Anthony Cook after the accident, Anthony told Pritchard that Paul was driving and told him where everyone was seated at the time of the crash. So in the report, Pritchard says that Anthony didn't know who was driving the boat. And then Pritchard stated in the report that other officers on scene were told it was either Connor or Paul. So he only gave Connor Cook a field sobriety test at the scene. And the lead investigator said that he told Officer Pritchard to give the sobriety test to Paul and Connor. And Pritchard ended up and was, if you remember, they had that filing from Mallory Beach's family where they had to give depositions. And he said he was zeroing in on Connor as the driver. And he said he asked Connor to take the field sobriety test, which he refused.
Which is, you can do that.
You can do that. But like I said,
it makes you look guilty, but you can do it.
It really does. And like I've said in the past, I know a DUI lawyer who will tell you, and somebody said they've heard the opposite. Somebody commented just today, but a refusal is harder to beat than an actual reading, because when you get arrested for a DUI, they're going to say, are you on any medications? Do you have any problems with your knees or your hips? Anything that they can use to make that invalid. And there are workarounds, and I think it's kind of disgusting, to be honest.
Yep.
Because you're enabling them to go back out and take out a family. It's just, alcohol is just like scary.
Yep. So in the dash cam video released by Fitz News, we see an upset Anthony Cook speaking to Stephen Domino, the lone Beaufort County deputy who said Paul was driving. In the video, you can hear Anthony call his mother, who he said works for SLED. He tells her what happened. He also says they should call Mallory's parents to tell them the news that Mallory's missing.
Yeah. So this Stephen Domino seems like somebody who was on it and was like, don't worry, this kid's going to pay if this is the case. I mean, it's not verbatim, but in the video, Paul walks by and Anthony says, get that MFer away from me. He also said that Paul should rot in prison, and he knows, but he said on the scene, and this is on the dash cam video, which I will Facebook and tweet out, he won't be in any trouble from this. He knew already minutes after the crash that this family would make this go away.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So in the police car, Anthony tells Officer Domino that Paul was driving and that he got onto the floor and held Mallory. And he just reiterates that Paul was drunk and that he had begged him to let him drive the boat. And then Anthony tells this Officer Domino that Paul was driving the boat and was already, like we said, he just indicated he would escape responsibility because of who he was. But this is where Domino assures Anthony that Paul will be held responsible if it's proven. Here's what's interesting. This Officer Domino was fired last year for unlawful use of a controlled substance and making false or misleading statements to a law enforcement agency. Huh. I would be curious to hear from this officer and get his side of the story on this, because
for sure,
these people can make any kind of a scenario they want.
It sounds like it.
And a good old boy system still very much alive and well here in the South. Curious.
Yep.
Make them go away.
Yep. So Corporal Jack Keener, who was connected to the Murdock law firm, gave a different scenario, saying it was unclear who was behind the wheel. In a deposition, he said nobody said anything to him to indicate that Connor Cook had been driving at the time of the crash, and was unclear who was driving the boat. Comment was his personal opinion.
Right. So that was, I believe, in that deposition as well. It switched from, well, maybe Connor was driving too. Well, that was just my observation, which is, you don't put that in a police report.
No, it's got to be fact.
You know what they say about opinions.
Yeah.
But the dash cam video shows he didn't question anybody about who was driving. Just cover up.
Dirty.
So we're going to switch to the hospital after the crash. If you guys remember, they took everybody to the hospital. And Paul's father, Alex, and his grandpa, his name is Randolph, they were there 10 minutes after Paul was brought in. And witnesses say that Alex just seemed like he was getting his plan together. And he was heard saying he wasn't worried about Mallory, who was at that point lost. They had not found her body.
Awesome person.
Yeah, right?
Yep. So there was no warrant to draw blood from Paul for a blood alcohol content level. But the hospital did on its own because of how crazy he was acting, and also the concern he may have had a head injury, which a head injury does have symptoms the same as that.
Yeah.
At 4 a.m. he was 3.5 times over the legal limit.
So that's a couple of hours after the crash, because I think the crash was 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm not exactly sure.
Wow.
Can you imagine what his blood alcohol level was at the time of the crash? I mean, that is almost, I don't know, like you said in the last time we talked about this, how are they standing up?
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, we know that he had the alter ego Timmy that came out when he was drunk. And, oh, man. That is just sloppy drunk.
Yeah. So a security guard heard Alex say, "She's gone. Don't worry about her," which was a few hours after she was missing.
Yeah. And a nurse on duty said that Alex seemed really cold and detached from Mallory and those who were on the boat as well, as well as the ones that were hurt. If you remember, Connor Cook had a broken jaw. So it did. I mean, he told a nurse he was responsible for all the kids in the hospital. But what's interesting is the nurse noted that Alex smelled of alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah.
This case, I'm telling you.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that nurse asked the security guard to watch Alex because he was just going into all these other rooms. And he was trying to get Paul's girlfriend to tell her what to say, and then she kind of confirmed that in a statement in her deposition. And her statement to the DNR, she said, "Alex kept trying to enter my room multiple times, but my nurse would not allow him to. In the hallway, he kept saying I was with him and that he needed to tell me what to say."
Wow. He was overheard telling Connor Cook that they would figure everything out. He was handling it, and he was seen trying to talk to Connor as they were wheeling him for a CAT scan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all odd behavior.
It really is.
Like normally in that situation, like everybody's like concerned and worried about people, and you're not discussing any of this stuff.
So, yeah, they're just, and then you have the missing evidence, which is Paul's phone, which his pants were missing, which had his wallet in it, which had Buster's ID, which is the fake ID Paul used to buy the booze with. And the DNA samples were missing. And the reason that's important is because it could have shown where people were sitting. Connor Cook had a broken jaw. I'm sure there was some blood.
Yeah.
So just ironic. And that's kind of where I am in the looking into all this stuff. There's still a lot out there. And, another thing. Paul told a nurse that she had a nice booty and asked her to hold a certain part of his body for him.
Wow.
Grandpa told Paul to keep his mouth shut. And then that was when he made the statement he was drunk as a Cooter Brown.
Somebody commented on that. I saw that.
So that's why I think maybe we've covered this stuff before, and I'm just so confused.
No, I don't think we did all of it, because some of this stuff I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, it's been such a crazy week. There's just so much going on, back to school shopping and milestone birthdays and being mom and feeling like a taxi for my kids. If we're repeating stuff, very sorry.
Hey, it's just a review.
Yeah, there you go.
There will be a test. Yeah.
So, but what's interesting, too, is Paul's girlfriend told her nurse that Paul almost killed them in a car accident when he was driving intoxicated one night. There were no records of that accident.
Okay, I can tell you, I've been in a vehicle, not with somebody driving under the influence, just somebody driving stupid.
Yep.
And it puts you in panic mode.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You just don't know what to do. I mean, you just kind of brace yourself and grab the oh my God bar and just hope you come to a stop at some point.
We were riding on a road I had a bad wreck on several years ago, and I've never, I'm a driver. I ride with you.
Yeah, because I'm a driver. I cannot be a passenger.
Yeah, and normally I'm not a passenger. And we turned on the road, and I started having a panic attack because I haven't been on that road with somebody else driving since I wrecked.
I remember that wreck.
So I started having a little panic attack.
Yeah.
And was like, I need to drive.
Well, my dad had a pretty bad wreck right here near our house. And because they live right near me too. We just kind of took over this area of the street. It's the street I grew up on. But he won't go that way. He had a pretty bad head-on collision there. And he will go around his, as we say in the South, his elbow to get to his rear end to avoid that intersection because there's a really bad blind spot. They need a turn signal there. And all these years, I mean, that's where that really bad DUI wreck happened, where I helped the girl who was pregnant that ultimately lost her baby. It was a DUI. But that intersection has just I'll never forget the sounds of that crash.
Yeah. Well, you think it's right in front of a fire station.
Right in front of a fire station and a gas station. And yeah, you would think there would just be a little arrow there, but there's not. But it's interesting how our brains work and stuff, like situations like that where something bad happens to you. It's just there.
Yep.
So we'll keep an eye on this Murdock stuff. There's still things out there I haven't even had time to go through. They released a lot of stuff. Fitz News released a lot of stuff about Stephen Smith, the investigation into his death, which I firmly believe was a murder.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're going to hear a lot more about that. And so we will see. And then, of course, the big thing is just waiting on this decision for life or death for what they're going to go for. Tomorrow or Monday, I think we'll know something. As of right now, nothing's been filed, and we verified that with somebody. So as of 1:10 on Thursday, nothing's been filed. But, I'm kind of thinking about the family. And, again, we talked about this before. It's just blow after blow. You kind of have some quiet, and then you're going to have, if they go for death, a lot of really uncomfortable details about what happened to these poor kids. And
it just keeps opening the wound over and over.
It does. And it's just going to be that way. I mean, there's no getting around it. We don't know half of it yet. These details will come out in trial. And so who knows? But we do have a listener that keeps us updated on Mark Means.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
He's been there pretty much every day. And so the theory, we don't know this for a fact, but if you remember, the mental hospital had received some threats around the time Lori was supposed to have been there.
Yeah.
And one of our listeners was telling us that they can treat her in the jail. And I think that kind of makes sense. I mean, this is just pure speculation on my part. There's no reason for us to think this is a fact. But why would he be there every day?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Oh, and she also said the other day that normally Means and Pryor park side by side, but that day they were parked way far apart. And I was like, is there trouble in paradise? Are they arguing?
Do not park next to me.
Keep your car far away from mine.
I don't like you.
So, yeah, I think, so we'll see what happens. We're still going through these documents. It should be a much quieter week next week. My kids are going to be in high school full all day.
Your week's quiet. The next 10 days for me.
Oh, I know you have your play coming up.
Yeah, theater stuff. Oh,
I know.
Man.
My girls are so excited, but you guys have done this for a couple of months now, and it's showtime next week, and I'm excited to see how it all come together. And so then you'll have some time off. Maybe we can regroup a little bit and get the lives going again and getting the video going for taping these podcasts, because we have, I think it's Grandma Betty on YouTube. She's a new listener from Scott Reich, and she's like, I need a visual. And so we're working on it, Grandma.
Yep.
We're getting there.
Yep.
So it will be coming soon. But I think that's all for right now. If anything crazy happens, we'll hop on. If something comes down tomorrow, like we say, tomorrow evening, kind of late after the 16th birthday party, we will hop on and talk about it. If not, we'll wait for Monday and see if anything drops then.
Sounds good.
All right. You guys have a nice weekend.